Which sensory pathways tell your brain where you're being touched and which ones carry pain? There are three major somatic sensory pathways that carry information from the body to the central nervous system. Each one has a different function, a different route, and different set of neurons involved. Let's break them down. First is the posterior column medial lemniscus pathway, often abbreviated PCML. This pathway carries highly localized sensory information, things like fine touch, vibration, and proprioception from the limbs and trunk. The first-order neurons have their cell bodies in the dorsal root ganglia, and their axons ascend ipsilaterally in the posterior columns of the spinal cord, specifically the fasciculus gracilis for the lower body and the fasciculus cuneatus for the upper body. These axons synapse in the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus in the medulla. From there, second-order neurons decussate or cross over and ascend through the medial lemniscus to the thalamus, where they synapse with third-order neurons. The third-order neurons then project to the primary somatosensory cortex. Next is the anterolateral pathway, which includes the spinothalamic tract. This pathway carries pain, temperature, crude touch, and pressure. Like the PCML, the first-order neurons start in the dorsal root ganglia, but they synapse very quickly in the posterior horn of the spinal cord. The second-order neurons cross over almost immediately within one or two segments and then ascend contralaterally through the anterior and lateral spinothalamic tracts. These fibers travel to the thalamus, where they synapse on third-order neurons that project to the somatosensory cortex. Because this pathway decussates early, damage to one side of the spinal cord often affects pain and temperature sensation on the opposite side of the body. Finally, we have the spinocerebellar pathway, which is responsible for unconscious proprioception, that is, information about body position that goes to the cerebellum, not to the cortex. This pathway involves two neurons, not three, and it doesn't reach conscious awareness. First-order neurons are again in the dorsal root ganglia. They synapse in the spinal cord, often in Clark's nucleus for the lower limb, and the second-order neurons ascend through either the posterior spinocerebellar tract or the anterior spinocerebellar tract, depending on the region of the body. Most of these fibers do not decussate, or if they do, they often cross back again before reaching the cerebellum. This allows for precise ipsilateral control of movement. So to review, the PCML pathway gives you precise touch and proprioception. The anterolateral pathway handles pain and temperature. The spinocerebellar pathway sends feedback to the cerebellum to fine-tune movement, and it does all of this without you even being aware of it.